KindaSound Radio. We're tuning in for change.
Good morning and happy Friday. Welcome to the KindaSound Astrology Show, an update with me, Stella Grace. We are bringing you the astrology. This is actually the penultimate astrology show on KindaSound. But after that, I'm going to be bringing you a weekly update from my YouTube channel. If you haven't already followed KindaSound and are seeing the incredible work they do, please give them a follow on their socials at KindaSound Radio. They've got some amazing shows. There's some really exciting changes happening in the wings, and we are going to be bringing you some other updates soon about how the station is moving forward as well. So I hope you'll keep in touch with us and look out for those. We've got a huge astrology show to cover today. I can say this every week. The astrology at the moment is just so profound and significant, and we really are living in fascinating times, aren't we? So it's absolutely perfect that that is reflected in the sky. We're covering our topic today, the release energy of full moon. So we're going to look at the full moon energy that is building now for that Scorpio full moon on the 24th. Interesting numerology as well for those who are interested in the numbers. On the 20th, we have the full moon here at UK time, 24th of the 4th, 24. So if that speaks to you as well, you go and look up those numbers. That's another interesting strand of the energy coming in. But we're also going to look at full moons generally in terms of how they give us a really great opportunity to use the energies for letting go. So we're going to talk about some of the practices there and the whole vibe of relinquishing control. Because I think that's something, again, really transferable to our well-being on any given day. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as the actual Scorpio energy of this full moon in particular. Then we're going to come on to our astrological weather for the week ahead. And my goodness, we've got some ballsy energy in the sky actually this week. It's incredible. We're actually in it now with the huge Jupiter and Uranus conjunction in Taurus. So we're going to talk about that, why it's so groundbreaking and how that is really impacting on the energy moving forward for our evolution at this time. That's why it's so big. It's really impactful on our evolution at this time, this point in history. As we, when we look back on this time, it's going to be really, really significant. And we're living it now. So it's just fascinating stuff. And the rest of the astrological weather as well, there's loads going on. We've got Mercury moving direct soon, although we'll have a bit of a shadow period, but we're moving out of Mercury retrograde this week. And lots of other beautiful synergy is going on in the sky with this full moon. So we're going to talk about all of that. It's a packed show. It's a delight to bring it to you this Friday and kick off the weekend. So let's get into it. So I've got my chart down here. So we might make reference to the astrology chart as we go through, but not to worry for those on the radio. I will be explaining it as we go through. But if you see me looking down, I'm looking at the full moon chart I've got in front of me. Let's get into it. So full moon energy for release. Now, this is a really beautiful way to kind of access a bit of ritual in your life, to access a bit of energy of clearing out the clutter. And we can do this at any time. I don't want to, and if you've heard me speak about astrology before, you'll know that I'm not one for giving our power away to the stars. We're a reflection. So this is not about, there not being another time to do these things. You can do these in any given moment that you choose. But what this is offering us is an additional opportunity to think about it. The stars and the planets and their alignments are a beautiful reflection of us, really. We've got the lovely notion in astrology, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so we've got these powerful energies kind of playing out in the sky. And we get to, with awareness, we get to utilize the energy of them. So in terms of a full moon generally, they are an amazing time for release. Now, the topic for today is not just about that and not just because of that. It's because this full moon actually is in Scorpio. And Scorpio, one of its aspects is about control. Scorpio has an incredible will. It's almost a very forceful will. It's so determined. It's fixed in the sign of water. So we have this incredible, deep willful energy that is also has a facet of control. So there has never been a better time to utilize a practice of relinquishing control, because the full moon is a beautiful opportunity, as I was saying, to release those things that are not serving you. And when we think about Scorpio and the element of its energy with control, it's a great time to look at where we're holding on tightly and where it would serve us to let go. So when we touched on a couple of weeks ago, we touched on a new moon ritual called the show there is called New Moon Manifestations. If you want to go back and see, because there's an array of podcasts again across the whole KindaSound team. The wisdom from the presenters is just stunning. There's so many different topics, so I'd really invite you to go back and look through the KindaSound podcast on KindaSound.org. And if you love your astrology and you love, sorry, just bear with me one moment. So, and sorry, there you go. And if you love your astrology and you want to transfer some of the information, because it's not all time sensitive. So we spoke a couple of weeks ago about new moon manifestations. And so every month we can use the new moon to call in what we are intending, to call in what we wish to see more of in our lives. And I'd covered sort of some of my practices there. So 2 weeks on, we have the full moon. And as we discussed before, some people can feel like, what do we actually do to manifest? What do we actually do to let go? Because we hear this term a lot, don't we? Especially on, an evolutionary or a personal growth or spiritual path, like you got to let go, but no one actually tells you how to do that. And I think actually letting go is really, really hard to do. It sounds like an easy thing, but actually as people, we're really wired, aren't we, to try and control and try and hang on and try and coordinate, our lives and manage our lives in the universe. We want to do that, but we can't always. So it's a really good opportunity to think about that, to think about where we can loosen our grip and throw up some surrender. So one example of how I would work with this energy practically is with letting go on a full moon energy. We can clear out the clutter. It's great to physically get rid of things out of your house, old things, old energy, making space for the new. That's really what this time is about. Think of the full moon coming to its heightened point of fruition. It's ready to let go again and start waning. So we want to make that space in our lives as well to enable the new ideas and any new material aspect in our lives to come through, whether that's physical possessions or whether that's new ventures. So it's a really amazing time to really look at where we can clear out and physically let go of things and any energies that are old and we just don't need anymore. So I really like to think about this as well in terms of our elements. Now, I'm a water sign, so one of the ways I cleanse my energy, again letting go and clearing out the old, is always the sea, and that's my place, and that's something that works really well for me. And you might want to choose that. And whatever your element is, if you know your star sign, most people know their sun signs. And if you know or can find out very easily on Google what your element is associated with that zodiac sign, we can utilize that as well. So it's classic that I love the water. You may be, I don't know, a fire sign Leo. And so you might want to have a physical fire, obviously in a safe way. And this is something I come back to again, like it's really good to burn old stuff, see it go up in flames, see it go to ashes, obviously in a safe way, in a part of your property that's not going to, cause any problems. But you might want to utilize these in terms of the elements. Air, you would think about getting out and just blowing away the cobwebs and visualizing things leaving your system that you no longer need. That's a really beautiful way of doing that through the breath. That would be another really beautiful air practice, really deepening and lengthening and slowing the breath down so that you're really feeling like you're clearing through your body. And then earth, I've known of people to actually bury things. That's not a way that resonates with me, but it might be for you. And equally, we can adopt any and all of these at different times that sing to us. If something resonates, then we can mix it up and just, go with whatever practice serves us in that moment on that day. So there's some little tips and ideas, if you like, for how we actually release. Another way could be journaling, really kind of offloading and brain dumping at the end of the day can be really freeing in terms of letting go. And again, making space for new thoughts. Another thing could be time in stillness. It's time where there's space around you to kind of think about. You're not picking up anything else. You're taking some time to let go, to slow down, and kind of let things fall off you almost energetically. Now, with some of these ideas, and with any kind of practice and ritual, I feel like it's really important to say at this point, and especially with this relinquishing control energy, that it doesn't have to be something that becomes, monotonous, or you feel like it has to be done as a routine, or even every full moon. We want it to be a practice that serves us, not again something else that we're trying to control by, really stipulating it as part of our lives. So we want to also bring in these things with curiosity and joy and fun and a freedom energy, rather than I must do this. These are tools and ideas to support your energy system and for release. But I also had it's reminding me, because I had a really beautiful discussion with Lucy Davis. She's another presenter on KindaSound. Her work and her energy is just stunning. She's an absolute goddess. So do have a look at her shows, and she's over on YouTube as well. And we were talking about, relinquishing control, and we were getting onto that, and also how when something becomes very routine, it can feel, actually going against the whole point of why you're trying to do it. Because, we want to have an element of freedom, not feeling like we have to do something or are governed to do something, and we must do it. So bring these things in with play and fun and joy, and how they speak to you. It's really making that space, and in a nutshell, across all the levels, making that space physically, making that space energetically, mentally, and emotionally. Having good clear outs. Accessing and feeling our emotions as well is another one. So we can think about physical clutter, clearing that out. We can think about maybe journaling to brain dump and get rid of our kind of mental noise for a day, or at any point where we want to might make space there. Emotionally, to release our emotions, we really need to feel them first. And again, this is something that you say it like that, it sounds easy, but we actually need to cultivate space to do that, don't we? It's not something we can necessarily click our fingers and do. So all of these things really come from a place of space and stillness, with cultivating our relationship with ourself first and foremost. So those are some thoughts on full moon release energy. If anyone's got any questions or wants to jump in on the comments, please do, and we'll get those answered for you. In terms of the Scorpio full moon, so specifically the Scorpio full moon on the 24th, so it's UK time of, I think it's around 38 minutes past midnight, around there, UK, is we're heightening now, we're building into that energy. We're also building into some other phenomenal energies that I've touched on, we're going to cover. But Scorpio specifically, as I mentioned, it's a fixed water sign. It really loves to get deep into the nitty gritty, into the issues. And so we can again utilize that energy for getting deep with ourselves, as well as clearing things out. It might also be a really good space to process anything that's kind of tinkering around, anything that's wanting your attention, wanting to be alchemized. The Scorpio energy is amazing for alchemy. So finding your gold from your grit is a really good way to kind of work with the therapeutic aspect of Scorpio, the higher aspect of Scorpio. In terms of the archetype of the zodiac, it's the only zodiac sign that has two animals and the archetypes, and that is the scorpion, obviously, and that represents the kind of lower basic, more human drives of Scorpio. The very willful energy. It can be quite forceful energy, and it's very concerned with the kind of basic drives of the human. And then the higher aspect of Scorpio, and you could think of this as like shadow and a more evolved state. The higher aspect of Scorpio is the eagle, and it sees things from the higher perspective. It's a broad view. So that's a really beautiful energy for stepping back, looking at the bigger picture, and then doing whatever work, whatever stillness, whatever journaling, whatever therapy, anything cathartic. That is a really good use of Scorpio full moon energy. So I hope you'll enjoy that. We are in the run up now. We also have a huge amount of ballsy energy to discuss with the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. It's absolutely intense in terms of, in Scorpio terms, actually. Scorpio full moon is intense energy. What we have with the Uranus and Jupiter conjunction that is building it is actually going exact tomorrow on the 20th. So in this week of the full moon going on, we've got this huge conjunction as well that we've actually very much got the energy of now. Because often with these aspects, we feel the energy for, a good few days around them as they go exact. And so before and after, we can really utilize and think about their power and the awareness and the opportunities they offer us. And so with Jupiter and Uranus, we've got an incredible theme of evolution. And that is why I mentioned that it's a really fantastic time to think about this point in history. I mean, I really feel like it's just a fascinating time to be alive. It's certainly not all easy, and we've got some huge changes, and we've been through some huge changes, but things are really moving in quite a fascinating and profound way for our evolution. And why I'm saying that is because we've got Jupiter, the planet of expansion and known as the great benefit, and a good fortune. It's also the planet of abundance. And we've got that meeting Uranus in Taurus. Meeting Uranus is the change maker. It's revolutionary. It's also groundbreaking. It's sudden changes, but it's also about unity and community. So we have this real kind of collective theme being touched by the planet of expansion and abundance. So we've got this big heightening energy, this big activating energy between the two planets. So it really does feel significant in terms of how we are moving towards some people call it a new earth, a new system, however you want to think of it, things being done differently to how they've been done for a long time. And I think we're very much ready for that as a collective. And this isn't something that's going to change overnight. This isn't something that's, going to look different next week now this conjunction's passed. But this is a significant point in history where we're really starting to think about how we're led, how we want to feel, how we want to be governed, how we want to be a part of a system, and how that system looks. And the reason I talk about system is because it's in Taurus. So interestingly, this conjunction, when Jupiter and Uranus meet, they do so every 14 years. So this time they're meeting in our earth realm, material side of Taurus, certainly brings up the heightened aspect of the energy of change in our system, and also the energy of abundance in our system. Now, if you think about this, the events that are going on this week, and I don't follow this stuff avidly, but it stood out to me because of this timing. There's Bitcoin stuff going on, and obviously that's not new, but there's events about Bitcoin. I don't know what they're called, but there's an event about Bitcoin this week that's quite significant in terms of how that's all moving forward. And that's just absolutely classic astrology playing out and being reflected, because it's new changes to our wealth system. It's also new changes to our self-worth. So if we think again about everything being reflected in terms of us internally, as we look at the world stage, if you like, and how those things are shifting into more of a collective sense and more of a technological sense, Uranus rules technology. And in Taurus, the sign of wealth, we're thinking about Bitcoin and things like that, our financial structures looking differently. We've also got the reflection on our inner world of areas of worth. And I think it's a real ballsy, powerful time for us all to be kind of standing up, speaking in our truth, knowing our light, knowing our worth, and knowing of how we want to be treated and how we want to show up in the world. And that's why I'm really excited about this energy, and I really love it. And again, yes, things we might not feel in our power overnight. The whole system might not look different overnight, but it's happening. It is already happening. And I find that really exciting and inspirational. These changes are, pivotal in big, monumental events in our evolution. So I find it a really fascinating time. And there's just lots there as a result of that. So it's works on an inner and an outer level, and I think the astrology really reflects that beautifully at the moment. On that note, we're going to have a little song break, and I think this kind of sums up the ballsy energy quite well with the warriors and Imagine Dragons. And it's really like we are paving a new town. We are kind of building the town here. We're building the blocks by how we show up with ourselves and how we show up in the world and how we're part of what's happening in the collective. So I love that. And thank you, Jan Gay, for playing that one for us now.
KindaSound Radio, the station for a global community.
Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome back to the KindaSound Astrology Show with me, Stella Grace. We've been discussing some big energies, not least the full moon on the 24th in Scorpio and the intensity and the relinquishing control we can invite into our lives and utilise there. But also this huge Jupiter and Uranus conjunction in Taurus. And it's absolutely stunning energy. It's really a privilege to see this unfolding and be a part of this and doing this work where we're connecting. It just feels like such a great time for that, for, talking, having these conversations, thinking about our awareness, increasing our evolving, our collective consciousness evolving. This is great energy for that. And this is really a time, as we touched on, this is ballsy energy as well. It's not a time for us to stay small. There's a lot of talk online, and a lot of people talk about, being in their authenticity. And this is really beautiful energy for that, because we're not being a part of something that's so we're told what to do anymore. Lots of us are feeling very differently now. We want to step up, we want to step out, we want to shine our authentic light. And that is what inspires others to do the same. It's also how, you hear a lot about how your tribe found you, your vibe finds your tribe, or whatever that lovely saying is. And that's really comes from a place of us being confident and authentic enough in our own light. And this energy is really, really supportive of that in a really positive way. Because of course, Jupiter is the beneficial planet, and it's a big energy. It's not doing things by halves. And then we have got the sudden expected changes of Uranus, keeping things interesting, let's say. It's not always smooth with Uranus energy, which we are in now. We're in that until, for at least the next few days, but these impacts are much longer lasting. These are long-term energies of our collective consciousness rising. And so it's not to say this is all plain sailing. So do, look out and not be too surprised by unexpected changes. What can feel like with Uranus, it can sometimes feel like a little bit of chaotic energy. But always, always, always with Uranus, it is about something needing to change for our highest good at some point down the line. And it will become clear as to why those changes came in, even though they can sometimes feel inconvenient or disruptive. But Uranus is the rebel for a cause, so we can think about that energy. What things are we wanting to rebel, but with a really good cause for? How are we wanting to step out? How are we wanting to be seen? How are we wanting to shake things up a bit? How are we wanting to, really bring forward our part in this creation of a new earth, of a new world stage? And that is really through our own frequency and our own choices. That do we have that impact? And we do, as powerful co-creators, we have an impact to share with the world, and it does have an impact. So it's a very power to the people aspect, and I love that, because it's got that collective feel of Uranus. So I was saying it's also, as I mentioned earlier, about unity and community, and that starts with us and then linking into thinking about how we're a part of making change, and that being in a unifying sense and in a collective sense as well. So all changes that are, for a greater good, that serve you to be of more assistance to others and show up in the world with your unique talents and gifts, because that's what the world can't have too much of. And I think that's another part of this kind of ballsy energy, is about us going, actually, these are my gifts. They might look different to how I've shone before. I might be called to, shine in a new way now. Again, going back to that lovely discussion I had with Lucy Davis recently, it's actually on her YouTube channel. We had a lovely discussion about finding your soul purpose. And she really advocates at the moment, and I totally agree with her. I can see this energy is really supportive of this as well, about people writing books at the moment, really encouraging people to write books, because we're creating a new earth library, as she said. And I just think that is so poignant and so actually gives us a lot of a power in a positive way. What we are putting, and it doesn't have to be a book, actually, just what we are putting out into the world at this time, coming from a place of our authenticity and coming from a place of shining authentically and supporting each other whilst we support ourselves, is always going to be really positive and be really helpful and be really successful. So it's a great time for writing books. But not only that, it's just a great time for really shining. So I really welcome you to think about, how you're shining, how you're showing up authentically, how things might be calling you to do things differently at this time. That Uranus energy does like to shake things up. So can we be thinking about where we might be bored in life, where we might be feeling there's a drain, where we might be feeling like our energy would be better placed elsewhere, because this is the time to use it. This is like an activation energy, as I mentioned, and it really helps us to shift onto a higher trajectory for ourselves. So if you think about whatever you feel is in your highest potential or a higher potential, this is really great energy to utilize that. And on that note, I'm going to come on to the astrology. So if we could see that chart screen, Django, that'd be super helpful. I'm going to come on to, if we're thinking out, thank you, if I'm thinking about a higher trajectory, down here we've got this huge cluster of planets still in Aries, not quite as huge as it was, but we've still got 4 planets there. So again, it's another aspect of ballsy energy in the sky with that beautiful Aries fire. But why that really supports us with our higher timeline, our higher trajectory, our highest potential, is because we've got it on the North Node. Now, the North Node in Aries is really supporting us to get clearer and get more aligned with our destiny, with our highest good. It's bringing in the wisdom of where we've been and taking it into where we're going. That might be new, it might be unknown, it might be a bit uncomfortable, we might be pushing out of comfort zones. But Aries, it being in Aries, really supports us to be bold and courageous and to do it with gusto, and also to do it in the way that serves the self. So it's not having to be selfish, it's about being in what's in your own power. And as we were talking earlier about authenticity, it's a great time for that authentic energy, which will support others by being in our light. That has such an incredible ripple effect. And the North Node in Aries really supports us to be in our light, to be shining, to be doing what it is we love, and to be activating our purpose. It's really great energy for activating our purpose. It's right next to, at the moment, I'm looking at the full moon chart, sorry, it's right next to, so the energy of this is current, Mercury. So we've got all of those themes I've just mentioned about our highest potential in synergy with Mercury, which is our thinking, our ideas, our new projects, and our kind of momentum and our visions. So, again, it's a great time to be thinking about it, even if you're not able or not feeling ready or it's not aligned as the right time yet to actually make the changes. There could be great planning that goes towards those now. A really good time for thinking about things, thinking things through in a new way, thinking things through in a more aligned way that's for your higher purpose. All of that is really stunning energy. We've still got Chiron there, a few further degrees up. And if you see where my cursor is now, if you're looking on the lives, there's that cluster here that I'm talking about. And for those on the radio or listening to the replay, we have this cluster of planets in Aries that are a few degrees apart from each other and therefore synergizing each other with their energies, their essences kind of combine. And so North Node and Mercury, and then Chiron, which is our wounded healer. And again, it's a bit of an alchemy energy. It's similar to what we touched on with Scorpio full moon. We've got that opportunity to dig deep, to work through issues for the purpose of healing them. For the next level of healing is available here. It's actually another incredible healing moon. So we had a really healing moon back along, but we've got another really healing opportunity here with the it's a healing full moon because it's opposite the moon and it's next to our sun. So our life force energy, it's actually moving into Taurus. The sun is going into Taurus tomorrow actually. But we've also got all this opposite the full moon all of this week. So it's an incredibly healing week. Great for accessing our inner depths, our hidden depths, because that's another thing that Scorpio loves to do. It's all about the depths. And the intensity of being able to sit in those shadows, actually. And that's about Chiron energy as well. So it's reflected in two places there. With the moon up at the top there, you can see the little crescent moon shape. And for those on the radio, it's opposite the sun, which is giving it that beautiful reflection and how we're able to see it in such an illuminated way. So it's stunning activation for getting deep with ourselves, getting some healing done, and moving forward for our highest good. It's really stunning for that. Now, all of that is also touched by Venus. So Venus is the next one up in the Aries cluster, and her energy is about, again, it's another beneficial planet. So whilst we've got Jupiter, the beneficial planet, touching Uranus with all those changes, those positive changes for our structures, we've also got Venus touching this Aries cluster and making all of that healing opportunity and letting go and all of the things we were discussing earlier, all of that being for a really again abundant as well, because Venus is abundant, but it all being for a very positive sense. Venus is another area that is reflected by our self-worth because she's ruled by Taurus, which is where the Uranus and Jupiter changes are happening as well, where they're meeting in Taurus. It's all themes that are really kind of activating of each other. Is so much beautiful synergy at the moment. It really is. It's got a lot of abundance. It's got a lot of self-worth energy. And we can really adopt that within ourselves, of course, at any time. So again, going back to what I said in the very first part of the show, all of these tools, all of these energies, all of this access is available to us at any time we choose because we have that level of consciousness. We can do that. But I find astrology really fascinating because it almost gives us a prompt. It gives us a tool to kind of utilize, but we can access this stuff within ourselves at any time. All of the planets and their essences and their archetypes give us, reflect in us an aspect of ourselves. So we can utilize all of this gorgeous energy and more. So with the sun going into Taurus tomorrow, we've got a new month beginning of the life force energy of the sun. We've had a busy time in Aries. We've still got that cluster there as we've just touched on. But with the sun moving into Taurus for the next month, we've got a grounded sense. And it's also about bringing our goals and intentions and our wishes for the new astrological year that we looked at in April in Aries season. It's now bedding them into stable, solid ground, which is Taurus energy. And it's got those shake-ups there, as we touched on with Uranus and Jupiter. But in terms of our own journey over the next month, we've got this really incredible opportunity to ground in and water and nurture the seeds and the intentions that we have planted and that we're wanting to see in our lives. Again, we can still do that. We can still nurture and think about, watering our garden and however that looks. What physical aspects are we wanting to kind of solidify? Because Taurus and Sun energy really offer that stability to us. We can really be thinking about, our life force being more stable, how we're sustainable, how we're able to, take things forward with more longevity, in a more fixed sense. It's also a calm and patient energy. We've seen the start of the new astrological year in Aries season starts with a jolt. It starts with, a fiery, dynamic energy. And now we're kind of grounding into the new astrological year with Taurus. We're grounding all of our kind of wishes and our intentions in, but also our energy in. So this is a lovely opportunity this week and anytime to clear out the decks, clear the closets, clear our emotional space, and then look at what we're, bringing in over the next month, feeling more grounded, building our security. And that is also reflective in the collective as well. So it's been an absolutely beautiful chat today. I've loved sharing the astrology with you. If you'd like to come back and see and hear us next week, we'll be doing this again at 10. That will be our last astrology show on KindaSound, sadly, but I will be bringing you updates still on a Friday on my YouTube channel, Evolve with Grace. And there'll be plenty of other amazing KindaSound shows as well happening. Django, just on that note, would you remind me who else we've got this evening on KindaSound, please?
Sure thing. I know we've definitely got Giles with the Awakening show, and that's 8:30 UK.
Amazing.
Talking to Chris Cousins, founder of Life Arts,
Oh,
talking about an event called Back to Nature.
nice. Amazing. A perfect Taurus theme as well. I love that. All the energy is always linked. And I hope you'll stick around as well because at 11, we're replaying a beautiful conversation I had with Dr. Ian McKenna a little while ago on the gifts within adversity. And it's the first part of a 2-part special with the theme of men's mental health. So I hope you'll join us because in 21 minutes, we will be hearing that one. And Ian had such a lot of great wisdom to share. We also shared a really beautiful discussion about rebuilding from personal loss. So I hope you'll join us for that. And Giles at 8:30. Giles' Awakening show is really fabulous. And again, crazy aligned with, looking at how we're growing as a collective consciousness and how that is rising. So just stunning energy as well. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you next Friday at 10. And all of this will be able to be caught up on the podcast early next week. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. So much love for your weekend.